Welcome to my review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This review will contain spoilers since the movie has been out for 2 months now. So if you still somehow have not seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, pause this review, go check it out, and then come back. So ever since Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness came out, it's been discussed to no end. People are very conflicted on this movie. Some people love it, some people hate it, and some are in between. So what do I think of this movie? I really like this movie. It's not the best MCU movie, and it's not perfect, but it is still a lot of fun, and there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. The action in here is great. Most MCU movies have great action, but they all kind of stick to the same format. But in here, the action is very different from normal MCU movies. It's really fun and exciting to see. I really liked how it felt like it was incorporated into the story. It didn't feel like there was action for the sake of action. I feel like it elevates the movie, and it also segues into the story pretty well. Now, what's probably my favorite part of the entire movie is the horror elements. I'm not the hugest fan of horror, but the horror elements that they put in here were really creative. There are just so many moments that play off as a horror movie. The movie has a couple jump scares, and some of them will really get a jolt out of you. Another thing I like about this movie is that this movie isn't afraid to show blood. There is a bit of gore in here, and there's a fair amount of blood. Like Black Bolt getting his head explode and blood coming out of his eyes and nose. Very different from the typical MCU violence. Really like that Sam Raimi was allowed to put horror elements in here. He really delivered because there's just a bunch of insane stuff in here. The actors are pretty good in here. I haven't been the hugest fan of Doctor Strange, and I haven't been really sold on Benedict Cumberbatch as that character. But when he was in No Way Home, he was really good. So my expectations for him in here were pretty high, and he delivered. He is even better in this movie, and I can finally say that I accept Benedict Cumberbatch in the role. In fact, I can't see anybody else playing him like Benedict Cumberbatch does. Elizabeth Olsen also gives a fantastic performance. Now, let me just say, I wasn't the hugest fan of Wanda in here. The extremity she goes to get to a multiverse where she can finally live with her boys is pretty unforgivable. Like, she kills the entire Illuminati, and she puts like so many people in danger. It just kind of like lessened her character for me, but I do think that Elizabeth Olsen gives a great performance. In fact, her second best, her first being WandaVision. And the rest of the cast is also pretty good. They aren't groundbreaking performances, but for what they give, they're perfectly acceptable. The multiverse and cameos, unfortunately, are very weak. The entire marketing for this movie was placed around the multiverse, and there's only like 3 universes that they explore in here. And it just kind of disappoints me because there was so much potential and there were so many things that they could have done with this concept, but they barely scratched the surface. The cameos start off really good. The entrance of Professor X and Reed Richards really gave me chills. It was really well handled. And the Illuminati was pretty fun during it, and they had some great moments. But unfortunately, they all die. And I said that I liked the way they died. I just don't like the fact that they died. The third act is also definitely not as good as the first 2 acts. Now, I don't hate it. I think it's a pretty strong act, but it just kind of falls into generic MCU territory where we gotta fight the big bad villain in an epic action sequence. And that's where the movie starts to lose its footing a bit, but it's still pretty entertaining. Also, the post-credit scenes are very weak. Post-credit scenes need to be good because people are sitting in the theater for like 10 to 15 minutes just waiting for one 30-second teaser or something like that. And they weren't all that strong, unfortunately. But overall, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was just a really good time. There's a lot of new things that the MCU tries, and while not all of them land, the ones that do land are really, really good. But if you just go in accepting to have a good, bloody, violent MCU time, then you should enjoy yourself quite a bit, and I certainly did. I'm going to give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness an 8 out of 10. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll have more videos coming out for you soon. You can follow me on my socials, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
It's electric. I'm lost in your eyes all the time.